Hi everybody, Nobby G0VJG to talk to you about Rockall and all our adventures. Okay, how and why? Yeah, that's a good question. Cam here, my colleague, he was the mastermind of this trip. I was introduced to Cam by Cole. He said there's this crazy guy going to Rockall and he's interested in taking a radio ham. He asked me, do I know anyone mad enough? And I put my hand up and was in from the beginning. Amateur radio wasn't the main purpose of this trip. The main purpose was to raise funds for the Royal Navy, Royal Marines and the Soldiers Charity. This was Cam's baby, and the amateur radio worked hand in hand with that, and it went really well. And of course, I lost the audio. The reason I wanted to activate Rockall was because there's been so few activations, and it was desperately wanted by many people. Yeah, you got another mic? Yep. Okay. Sorry, QRX. Oh. Now we got a tangle now. Right, we'll make do. Okay. Okay, so that's the team there. That's myself in the background, Emil, DL8, JJ, and Cam Cameron is guesting visiting at the front there. Okay, where is Rockall? Why is it so rare? And where is it? It's 220 miles to nearest populated area in the Outer Hebrides. And of course it's rare because it's so difficult to get on. There's lots of swell. The weather's generally renowned for being really poor. There's often extreme winds and severe weather conditions. So there it is. Gives you a little bit of a better idea where it is. South of Iceland and north of Ireland there, right out on its own. There's no other land anywhere near it. Okay, so the original idea was we were going to go in 2022. We had everything in place. We had a team of 5. Everything was looking good. We had a boat chartered, ready to take us. But with only a few months' notice, the boat that was taking us pulled out. We tried desperately to find a replacement boat, but we couldn't get one. It was too short notice. Those type of boats are not your average day trip boat. They need a special skipper with a special licence because it's more than 150 miles off of the mainland. We couldn't find one, so Cam came up with a plan B. We'd go to Goose Rock and we'd do a dry run and we'd practice the whole thing. Goose Rock is down in Cornwall near Newquay. It's just less than a mile off the coast. It's similar type rock to Rockall. It is quite different, but it's along the same lines. So we planned to do 4 or 5 days on Goose Rock, setting up our equipment, setting up our land pod, survival gear, food, etc. That's the picture of the land pod actually on Goose Rock. You can see how close it is to the shore. You can actually just paddle out there or even swim out there. And it was all going quite well. We did some training, we did some mountaineering practice, climbing, abseiling and stuff like that. We had a first-class climber with us, James Price, who'd done a really good job pushing us and teaching us different knots and climbing skills. It's just a different view of the rock there, so you can see why it's sort of similar to Rockall, but it's a lot easier to get on. That's the pod partially built, so you can see how the pod looks. It all comes in kit form, and with lots of space and nice weather conditions, you can put it together in under an hour. But it's not quite as easy when it's 50 foot up on a 4 foot ledge. But we come to that. Okay, so there's some pictures of us in Kip Marina. The vessel is owned by Glenn Potter. The typing, it's a 60-foot clipper. It's been used in the Round the World Racing Challenge 4 times. It's been across the Caribbean several times. It's been up to Iceland and Faroe. It's done some travelling. I think it was made in the early 2000s. So it's been around, but it's a cracking boat and still in very good condition. It was an ideal vessel for us. It was big enough. It sleeps 12. I wouldn't say comfy, but it sleeps 12 in a roundabout sort of way. You'll see some pictures of the accommodation shortly. There's a picture of the boat down there. Okay, the planning took absolutely ages. It went on for years. Zoom meetings, phone calls, emails. The original team changed after Goose Rock. A couple of guys dropped out for various reasons, and our mountaineering expert said he didn't want to go unless we were desperate. He's had a couple of issues, health issues. So Emil had been harassing me for probably a year, saying, "Oh, I want to go Rockall. It's something I really want to do." And I knew Emil was into the climbing, so I spoke to him at the convention in, the Hamfest in Germany, and said, there's a chance of a place on this trip. Are you still interested? And I thought it was going to rip my arm off. He couldn't sign up quick enough, so he was in and dead keen. And I think without Emil, this probably wouldn't have happened. He's a real first-class climber. He knows his stuff, very methodical, and he was a real asset to the team. There he is, Mr. Smiler. It's very rare to see him not smiling. He's always got a big smile on his face. Okay, so there was some other background guys who were really important to the mission. Harry Brayford done a cracking job on our social media and our comms with various inquiries from different people. He helped a lot. He organised all our website, and we're very thankful for Harry's input. Where are we? We did quite well with donations and support. We've had lots and lots of help from the ham community. Lots of radio clubs have put a few quid in here and there, and lots of individuals have also backed us, and also from companies that have been totally unconnected with amateur radio or the charities. Land Pod were the first ones. They just jumped straight in. Cam contacted them, told him what he was doing, told him what he needed and why he was doing it, and they said, "Yeah, no problem. We create you some kind of survival pod," and that's what happened. And we've had support from Yesu, from all sorts of people. Whiskey, you can see on the list there. My boss was really keen to support us. That James Burden donated a couple of £1,000 to pay for our dry suits, and I thought it was really generous. He said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I'm going to make sure you come back because we've got no one to do your job, so we want to guarantee your safety, so you're back." So it was double-edged donation there, I think. Okay, so that's one of our pics from the rock. You can see it's quite daunting, and it looks much bigger than that. When you get close to it and you look up at it, it looks terrifying. Okay, so the trip began on the 25th of May. Cam, Aaron, the cameraman, and Bryn, camera guy as well, they drove up from Wiltshire in a van, which again was loaned to us. We looked at hiring a van, and it was like, maybe best part of $2,000. And Aaron's dad said, "Look, I can use my works van. You can borrow it." So we just had help like that from so many people that without the help from all these people, it just wouldn't have been possible. Emil flew in from Frankfurt. I flew up from London, and eventually we all met up in Inverkip, ready for the journey. You can see there the van was fully packed. We had 11 large blue barrels, 5 small white barrels, plus the lamb pod and I think it was 6 or 8 25-litre cans of water, about 10 cans of fuel, and generators and etc. etc. Lots and lots of equipment. You'd be surprised what equipment you need. Bearing in mind Cam was planning on staying for 60 days. You need a lot of gear. Okay, a little bit about getting on. This was the climbing route. Emil went on first and secured some lines for us. It was quite a difficult climb. I mean, I've done some climbing years and years ago, and I've done a little bit of training before the trip, but I found the climb really hard. The first little bit, halfway up on the red line there, was quite straightforward. That was quite easy, traversing the fault line. But then you have to go up that V-shape, upside down V-shaped bit there is an overhang, and you have to climb up there. And I got stuck there. Emil was in front of me. I couldn't see him. Lucky enough, we had VHF radios. We could communicate. The rope got stuck, and he was getting all aggressive and swearing at me, saying, "Release the rope, release the rope." I said, "I am releasing the rope, and it's not going." Anyway, eventually he came back down. He kept his cool, and he rescued me, and we managed to get to the top. And then Cam, they decided to send Cam a different route, which I'm glad I never did. It's much more direct route on the yellow line there. But there's no footholds. It's really smooth and difficult. And Cam won't like me telling you this, but he got halfway up that yellow line, and it took a long time. This is not a 5-minute climb. It took a while to get that far. And he was going, "Oh, I've got no strength left. My arms are weak." He said, "I can't hold on. I'm going to have to drop off." And me and Emil were at the top of the rock. We're screaming at him, "No, don't. Just hang on. You're going to get there." Okay. And Emil came down and pushed him up, and then we all got on top of the rock. So we were dead chuffed. You can see our little encampment up there on top of the rock with all our local residents. Incidentally, there was some concern from some bird groups that that we would upset and disturb the birds, but there was no birds on the ledge, only right on the very top, and they just totally ignored us. They was actually sitting at our feet, and they just thought we were these strange orange-looking birds, I think, because they were literally sitting at our feet and didn't take an ounce of notice of us at all. The journey out was pretty rough. I mean, I was sick as a dog. I've been twice now, and I am not a sailor by any means, and I found it really hard. On the boat, there was 5 out of the 9 people on the boat were seasick, and at least another one was almost unconscious the whole way, feeling really rough, although he wasn't sick. So it was quite a traumatic journey. Okay, there's Emil smiling yet again. Okay, so the landing was tricky. The boat has nowhere to anchor. The sea's far too deep. I think it might be a couple of 1,000 metres deep. So it has a drag anchor. So basically the boat is about 500 metres or so off the rock, and it just drifts. There's a 24-hour watch, 4 people watching for... there's a reef very, very close to Rockall. There's 2 actually. One's 2 miles away and one's just a few hundred yards away. So they're always on the watch for keeping away from the reef. So Emil got all kitted up, and he was the first one to try and get on the rock. He didn't wear his dry suit because it was hot, and he thought it might restrict his movability. So he decided to go without it. And disaster, he got washed off. That's actually the second picture. This is the first picture. So yeah, he got washed off. He managed to get onto the rock, and a wave came round the corner. He was hanging on to the slippery seaweed and just smashed him off the rock. So as you can see, it was very cold, the water. It was only 10 Celsius, and after the first attempt, we had to come back to the boat. He had to get changed, and he put his dry suit on the second time because it was rather fresh in the sea. So he wasn't so brave the second time. Okay, yeah, so third time he actually managed to get on and secure some ropes. I was the second one to go on, and I thought I don't fancy going in that water. So Glenn, the skipper, drove me out on the small rib. It was a special rib with a reinforced metal bottom. And it has actually got a huge scar in the bottom of it where it actually almost tipped over right on the rock. It's got a big, huge gouge out the bottom of it. I stood right on the very tip of the boat, and I just took this massive leap, and I thought, I'm getting on this rock first go. And bingo, I was on. So I was dead pleased. Emil had put a rope in position ready, which also made it much easier. And I sort of traversed up the fault line and met Cam. So that's us on top. You can see how tiny that ledge is. I mean, that's like the size of a single bed. There is no room at all, so it's very difficult. Just to build the pod there was a mission. You know, you can see it's a sheer drop just right on the edge of that, but we did manage to set it up. It was a hard climb as well. I didn't say earlier, but I was actually frightened. When I got stuck on that rock, I was actually terrified. I thought, I don't know what I'm doing here. I must be mad. I'm 56 years old, and I'm stuck on this rock, and it's not looking good. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I say it all turned out right in the end, and the training and the expertise on site made it all possible. So that was good. Okay, yeah, just a few pics there of the rock. It's very difficult to climb that rock. It was very wet and slippery, the sort of lower half, and it's also sharp and jagged as well. It's hard to explain, but it's just not a pleasant climb. Even Emil said that the difficulty level was much harder than he expected. And at one point, he even fell off the rock. I mean, he's a professional, and he was actually swinging like this over the edge of the rock. So if it hadn't have been for his roping skills, he would have been in the drink. As you can see there, all the barrels are numbered. This was Cam's little idea so that we would easily be able to find everything. The barrels were done in an order of importance, 0 being the most important and 1 and so on. But we still had trouble finding stuff. We put lists on the barrels, what was in it. But there's just so little room, it's so difficult, and everything has to be chained on as well. There's chance of strong winds and waves, so we lashed, including ourselves, everything to the rock. We set up a rope way with hooks that were already on the rock. So we were like lashing ourselves on, so if you did slip and fall, you would only fall maybe a metre or 2. So you can see that's our store area with all our food and surplus equipment. And this wasn't all of it. This was just the stuff for the 3 days. When we left Cam on the rock, we had to resupply him with more fuel, more water, more food. The rib made umpteen visits to us with equipment. All the equipment, as you can see, was pulled up by hand from the rib. And it was really hard work. I mean, especially them 25-litre water canisters, they're just so hard work with dead weight, pulling it up 50 foot at a time by hand. It was really knackering and very time consuming. Every time the boat comes, it's 500 metres back to the boat, then load the boat, back to the rock, rope it all on. You've got to wait for the sea state to be just right to get close enough to the rock. So whilst waiting for the rib to return, we got the land pod built, but it wasn't until midnight that we were actually ready to get on the air. So we arrived at about 8:30 in the morning, and it took all the way around till midnight till we could actually switch the radios on. The antennas was up, the shelter was built, and everything was secured. So you can see one of the antennas there in the pod, and again you can just see I used to have to try and get down between the side of the little cliff there and the side of the pod. I operated at the back of the pod, and you could just barely fit down the back gap there. As you see, the weather was okay. We had some sunshine while we were there. It was actually quite pleasant for some of the time. And that's the inside of the pod. We didn't get much sleep, but a couple of times we had a couple of hours. There was 3 of us in there, and it's not It's more luxurious here, should we say. It was a bit of a tight squeeze to have a radio station and 3 full-grown guys in that little pod. Emil started off on 20 metres on the radio side of things. He's a CW king. I started up on 40. Conditions were good, but because I think people got fed up waiting for us and a lot of people was in bed, it was a nice steadily pile up for me, working some friends. I even had people, and I said, "Oh, I'm surprised you're up." They said, "Oh, M0OXO, my QSL manager called me." And he said, "Oh no, I just got a phone call. Rob rang me and said you was on." So he said, I jumped out of bed and he said, I told him to ring me and thought I'd come on and get you while I had the chance. So that was that. We had some really good pile-ups, 15 and 20 and 40 were very productive. It was a bit rowdy at times. I was mainly working 5 to 15 up, occasionally a bit more. I had some problems. I didn't even realise, I didn't listen enough to my own frequency, but I had a few guys that duped me, and I thought, I'm surprised there are people that would know better, but then I realised that there was some idiot, causing QRM on the transmit frequency, but a lot of people managed to get through it, and we did well. We managed to work in some DX. It was an all-time new one for lots of guys across the pond in America and Canada. I've had some really nice emails from guys who were dead chuffed to work us. So that's the equipment. You can see Emil's station is all neat and tidy and all prim and proper. Mine is just slung on a pile on the rock as it comes. There are different ways of operating, but they both work quite well, the stations. We both had Yaesu FT857s. They're small, rugged, hardy, and reliable radios. Mine's been all around the world. It's been used in numerous DXCCs, and it's never let me down once. So the antennas, there was 3 antennas. There was two wire antennas, similar to sort of G5RV type antennas made by one of Emil's contacts in Germany. And I just had a vertical antenna. It was just a 10-metre spider pole, which was donated by them, and just a bit of coiled wire up it with a Mac 40 tuner, and it worked really well. I was really pleased with it. Okay, so you can see I'm chained onto the rock there, and literally a foot in front of me is a sheer 50-foot drop. So not best place to fall asleep or anything. The whiteness of the rock, that's not snow or ice, that's guano. A lot of people have asked about that. When it's nice and sunny, it's not really a problem because it's dry and compacted, and it smelled for about the first 2 hours we were there. It smells like cauliflower cheese, believe it or not. It doesn't taste like it, I can assure you. But when it gets wet, a couple of times we had some drizzle and dew in the morning, it goes like ice. It is actually like ice. It's so slippery. So another reason you've got to be strapped on. It's very, very slippery. But yeah, great view from there. You can see for such a long distances from up there, just nothing at all, just sea. That's a very rare picture of Emil not smiling. That's probably after about 24 hours constant on the radio and 24 hours of getting on and setting up the equipment. Probably a bit knackered there. Okay, so there's a few stats. We made 7,227 QSOs. It was really a European show. The next biggest place we worked was America. We tried desperately to work the Americans. I knew how desperately they wanted it, but we only had a few openings, but we made 13% of our QSOs there. It was very difficult to work DX. I mean, the equipment was limited, the antennas were limited. We had no amplifiers. We were only running barefoot with pretty simple antennas. We did work a few Asians, a handful of stations in VK and a few in Africa. And we worked 35 stations in Japan, which was a bit disappointing, but it was just the conditions really weren't the best. Okay, so there's a breakdown. Emil is a CW machine. I can't remember what he made. I think he made 1,200 QSOs in the first evening. And the guy hardly ever sleeps. I mean, he made up for it on the way back. I think he slept for 2 days on the boat on the way back. But he just kept going and going and going, and very proficient operator, and done a really good job. And then we shared the FT8. Neither of us are big fans of FT8, but we were pleased to do it because I think a lot of guys with the smaller, back garden stations without the monster beam and towers and amplifier use that mode to make some contacts, and we were pleased with the amount of people that we gave Europe 1892 for a first. Okay, so 20 metres was the bread and butter band. Me and Emil both had a bash on 20 metres. That worked really well for us, and 15 and 14 were good. And we took 2 metres and 6 metres as well, which was a bit more of a joke than anything really, but we tried 2 metres, and Emil arranged some skeds with guys he knows and put stuff on reflectors. We didn't get anything on 2 metres, which I'm not entirely surprised about. But I tried a bit of 6 metres, and all I had was a little diapole, and I actually made 18 QSOs on 6 with a few Gs and a few French stations, and I think 1 EI. So we were pleased just to get a few. There was maybe a half an hour small opening, then after that there was nothing. Okay, so that's the whole team. The team from the Taiping was made up of 2 crew, the skipper and the first mate, and then the rest was volunteers who'd signed up to come on the Rockall trip. They was all really, really good. They couldn't have done enough. I've heard other expeditions say, the boat team weren't very helpful, weren't very interested on some big expeditions. But these guys, they couldn't do enough. They were so helpful, so enthusiastic, really keen, and that really made the job a lot easier. So not too much more to say about that. Yeah, when we got back, we were rather desperate for a beer. We got to the first pub in 8 o'clock in the evening, and got to the bar. It was 8:05, and the guy said, "Oh, I'm sorry, the bar shut at 8." I said, "You're joking. Someone's paid you to say that." He said, "No, honestly." I said, "Oh," and I begged him, and they wouldn't have it. But fortunately, there was a hotel nearby, and we did get a pint and an unwind from there. Then me and Emil, we went back to the airport. We slept the night in the airport and waited for our flight first thing in the morning back home. Dropped my bloody microphone, excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, so the other part of our mission, of course, was Cam's effort to get the funds together for our charities. He managed to stay, I think, 32 or 30 days after, until a bit of a disaster struck. There was a really severe storm for about 2 days. The waves were crashing up the side of the rock, bashing underneath the pod. It was causing like a vacuum and bursting the door open, and the water was seeping in underneath the pod. And Cam had to climb up onto that top ridge. There's another ridge about 10 feet above where we were, and strap himself on because he feared that he was going to get washed off. It was getting worse and worse. Spent quite a number of hours up on top of the rock, and began to suffer with hypothermia, where he got cold and wet. And in the end, he decided that enough was enough, and his life was in danger. So he had to make an SOS call. We tried the VHF radio, but of course it's line of sight, and there's not a huge amount of traffic in those waters a lot of the time. He couldn't raise anyone. So at first light, he came down and set up the sat phone, and I managed to put an SOS call out. And the authorities sent a Super King helicopter out much later in the day. Now we didn't have any comms with Cam, and I heard this through the media, and I thought, I didn't believe it, because I hadn't realised that the weather had got that bad up there. And we was very lucky that they were able to send a helicopter, because before we went, we contacted the Coast Guard and told them what we were doing, so they knew what it was all about. And they said, look, there's no chance of any helicopter rescue. It's too far, it's out of range. But that changed. Before we went, they got a new helicopter with an extended range, but not much. I mean, by the time they rescued Cam, they said if they didn't get him off in 20 minutes, they'd leave him. But they got him off in probably less than 5 minutes. And by the time they got back to their base, there was 10 minutes flying time left. So it was a real touch and go. But thankfully, they got him off, no problem. And he's all safe and well now, and ready to do it all over again, maybe. Maybe. Don't tell his wife, though. Okay, so the wildlife was amazing. As I said, there was a number of different types of birds. They were really beautiful. Another thing we was told to look out for was bird flu. That could be a problem. But the birds was all in really first-class condition. We didn't see any sickly or ill or dead birds. We had visits from minke whales. We saw two that came fairly regularly, several times to visit us, and they came right up alongside the rocks. That was really amazing. Of a night, there was shoals of fish coming really close to the rock, almost 9 o'clock every night, and it looked like the sea was boiling with fish. And of course, there were seals about for obvious reasons. So that's the sat phone that was loaned to us. Done a good job, kept us in comms, so it was very handy to have that very useful piece of equipment. So that's one of the antennas right on top of the rock there. That's a Mills antenna with just a dipole on it. The other side of it was just hanging over the edge of the rock, typing in the harbour there. Beautiful weather. We had a lot of stuff strapped to the deck. All our fuel was strapped to the back and the barrels, and inside it was pretty full up. One of the reasons it took so long to get there, we were only sailing at 6 knots when there was no wind, because of the amount of excess weight on the boat. Yeah, a little bit about training. That's my hot tub in my garden. That's taken probably in January, and it was freezing out. There was actually ice on top of that. I had to break thin ice off the top of it, and it was 10 Celsius, the same temperature as the ocean up there. And this was cold water immersion training, and I'd done 15 minutes until I went blue, and just to get used to what happens when you jump into freezing cold water. And these are the suits that my company supplied on the left there. A local swimming pool let me in. This lunatic guy wanted to test his suit out. They're really good. They make you very, very buoyant. You know, you could be a complete non-swimmer, and you know you're going to float even without a life jacket. Okay, yeah, so that's the helicopter that rescued Cam, or a similar one. I think I spoke about that a little bit a minute ago. Okay, I think there's just a couple of thank yous on there before we do any questions. That's the sheer size of the thing. So yeah, a few thank yous. Charles has done a fantastic job, M0XO. He's the QSL manager. He's organised all that and done a sterling job, giving us 100% support. Tony supplied us with all the QSL cards for free, and done a really good job. I brought one along. We've had lots of requests for these, so all the money that was raised, I mean, we charged $6 for a QSL card. We've had all the money for that, and all the money's gone into our charities. So thank you for that, for all those that have sent money for that and made donations. Harry, who done our all our internet media, and spokesman, webmaster, done a grand job. And the crew, the film crew, there hopefully will be a documentary anytime soon. We're hoping to sell it to some of the big guys, you know, I won't mention any names, but big guys on the TV are interested, and so hopefully could air in the new year. So look out for that. There's some really good footage. We have some quite interesting footage to see. The crew of the Taiping, I won't name them all, but they was a sterling bunch and couldn't have done it without them. And Nick, he was our pilot. He passed messages daily and helped us with info, you know, what guys were saying on the other side of the pile-up and whatnots. And most of all, my granddaughter, Amelia, she's 11 years old, and she done this PowerPoint for me because I started to do it, and after about spending 2 days on it and getting nowhere, she came and knocked it out in about half an hour. So she said, "Oh, Grandad, you're doing it all wrong. No, this is no good. This is no good." And so big thanks to her. She's a saviour. And yeah, that's basically it. And we've got time for a few questions.
Fantastic. Well, beats your imagination by a long way. Questions?
Again. Thanks. Does anyone, have we got time for any questions?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Nobby, I'm down below you.
I can see you now.
Hi. I noticed that after the event, there was supposed to be a further trip back to retrieve the equipment. I take it the equipment's still on Rockall?
Yep. Obviously, when Cam was lifted off, there was no time to mess about removing any equipment. So we went back a month later. We chartered the boat again, and we sailed all the way there. The forecasts for the weather were reasonably good. When we got to the rock, the sea was flat calm, but the swell was so high. I mean, there's pictures on social media. The waves were actually reaching the top of the rock again, so that it was just bashing up. And the skipper said, "Look, if our boat gets hit by a wave like that, it's just going to tip us out, and it's going to be a disaster." So we hung around for a couple of hours. We were studying the weather, and it just wasn't going to improve. So we came back, and the boat's been on standby for 3 weeks in September, just looking for a 5 to 7 day weather window, and it's not come. And then we had the first half of October. The boat's been on standby, and we just got the thing on the 9th saying that there's not been any decent weather windows. So there may be one more very slight chance, but it's a real outside bet. So we'll have to see whether it survives the winter and look at it in the spring. But yeah, there's a lot of equipment still there. So if anyone's passing, if they could be good enough to pick it up.
Yeah. Hi, Nobby. It was nice to have a beer with you and
you.
Fish and chips last night was good. Excellent, and hats off to everybody involved there. Have you considered, let's say, getting sponsorship or something for that Sea King helicopter to go and help you out? I mean, did you ever contemplate getting a helicopter ride to the Rock? I know it was just about in fuel range of some damn expensive helicopter, but is that an option?
I think the only way you can maybe do that, there are boats that have helipads on, but of course it's the expense. I mean, we've spent a lot of money on this trip as it is. It's not a cheap one. Another reason why it's rare and difficult is the expense of, you know, chartering a boat and a crew and all the supplies and equipment. Yeah, and if you had to get a boat with a helipad on, they're few and far between, and I should think they'd be extremely expensive. But yeah, when I get the Euro Millions up, I'll look at that for next time.
Can you talk a bit about the power management?
Yeah, so we used generators. We took 2 Honda 1 kilowatt generators. We took the Honda generators because they're very reliable. I've had experience with them before. They never let you down. And we had no problems at all. We also had...
Did you run them all day, or just charge batteries off them?
Yeah, pretty much all day, yeah. So we were charging batteries off them, running the radio stations. We did have a backup. We had solar power, solar panels and solar charging block batteries, but we didn't really need to use them.
So you have, what, about 30 gallons of fuel or something to keep you going that long?
Yeah, I think we maybe had... I'm not sure how much fuel we had. We had about 10 cans of fuel, so
right,
but varying sizes. There was lots of fuel. We had no shortage of fuel, so we didn't want to run out. I've been on expeditions before, and I've seen other expeditions where they've given up, so they've run out of fuel. So we didn't want to. You
dragged all those cans up the rock.
Yeah, we didn't take them all. We took some on, and then obviously there was some more when we left. When we left Cam for his 60-day effort, we topped him up with water and fuel before we went. And food.
Oh, that's very good of you. Would Cam like to say anything?
Yeah, Cam, have you got anything to say? Come and join me up here. Let's say big thanks to Cam. Thanks to Cam. You've got it in your logs. Top man, well done, buddy.
Thank you. Testing. It's not down to me. I mean that most sincerely. I had a crazy dream in lockdown that I wanted to go back to Rockall. I was there when I was a child on my dad's oil tanker, and in lockdown I was lonely and I guess maybe even a little bit depressed, and nobody could go anywhere and go on holiday, and you couldn't mix with people, and that's when I was sat at home, forced away from work, and I came up with a plan to go to Rockall. That was my dream. But none of this would have happened without, firstly, Nobby. He's very modest. When he says we managed to charter a vessel, we didn't manage to charter a vessel. Nobby managed to charter a vessel. I'd already had 2-3 vessels lined up, and they all pulled out. And it was Nobby that did it. Nobby managed to get the radio ham community involved as well, which is, frankly, without the radio ham community, this expedition, my expedition, to raise money for the charities would never have happened. So he is a modest man. I was just lucky to have a fantastic team, and that's gone off.
Yep.
Does it work again? Yeah.
Got another 50p.
It was unfortunate I had to come off after 30 days, but I had to make the decision. It was coming to force 9 severe gales, and I didn't want to be on there anymore. So I'm here to tell the tale. But, you know, the kudos does not go to me. I was part of a small team, and I had the idea, but it was these guys and the radio guys that literally made this expedition happen. So I would like to thank all of you for making my dream come true, because it literally would not have happened without you. Thank you.
We're being live streamed. Are the charities still open? Are there links to be able to?
Yes. Yeah, they are. It's rockallexped.com is the website, and if you want to make a donation, it'd be much appreciated. We've raised about 20 odd thousand pounds. We're almost half there.
Right. So another 20k.
Yeah. Just keep getting a pound. A pound is good.
Yeah. Another 20k on. It doesn't matter. All currencies accepted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just going to try it again. Yeah.
Would you try?
Yeah, 60 days.
I'm not allowed. I can't say with the white XYL over there.
Sorry, yeah. Just a very quick question back towards Cameron, if he doesn't mind. You've had the whole support of the ham community behind you and following this incredible adventure with you guys. And now you have been introduced and exposed to amateur radio. Would you ever consider getting a call sign yourself?
I actually am. Yeah, Nobby sent me a. I was slightly embarrassed when I came to reception today, and they said, "Just put your call sign." I went, "I haven't got one. Sorry." I'm really sorry. Oh, just put your name down. But Nobby sent me the details of the course, and I said when I was on Rockall, I said, "This is such an amazing community that I've got to get involved in it." So yes, I'm going to get a call sign.
Well, that's fantastic, and the round of applause just spoke for itself, I think.
Well, we'll all go home now, can't we? Thanks, everybody.
Done.